welcome to the Mentally About Us podcast. I'm so happy to have you today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I can't wait. We're going to talk about the marriage, the abusive marriage that you were in. Also, we're going to talk about your book that just launched
Yeah,
recently,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And what's really cool is how that book and my mentally abusive marriage actually go together.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is a definite connection. So it's not even like I'm straining to make it happen.
Right.
They really do go together.
Well, I'm excited to hear about the marriage and hear
Yeah.
about the book and see how they interconnect.
Yeah.
So, before we get into your book, of course, let's learn more about what happened in your marriage. Like, let's get into it. How long ago
Okay.
was that marriage?
So I got married in 2003 and I stayed in it until 2017. It was my second marriage, which is probably why I stayed in it so long, because I didn't want to be divorced twice. My first marriage ended mostly because we were just not compatible people. I was young when I got married. We had 4 children. He has always been a good dad, but we saw life so differently, and there just wasn't a good mix for us. So we got divorced, and then I met this guy, and he seemed like a real go-getter, and I felt like he was somebody that was going to be, right for me. And we got married, and probably within the first 6 months, I was aware that things weren't the way they should be, but I didn't want to be divorced a second time. And so I was pretty willing to put in some hard work, thinking we could make this work. As time went on, it became more and more apparent that there wasn't enough hard work for me to put in. But also, in that period of time, he had begun doing enough of the emotional abuse stuff that I no longer believed in myself. So it was one of those things where I didn't even think I could get out. I
Mm-hmm.
had gotten to the point where I felt very trapped, and I didn't think there was a way out. I didn't think anyone would believe me. He had alienated me from my family. He had alienated me from my friends. I mean, it was all of the things that you hear happen. And it didn't happen on like day one. It just happened over time until the next thing you know, you're swallowed in this mire and you don't see a way out.
Can you tell me an example of something that he did that was like a red flag, like right in the beginning that you knew where it was going to go downhill?
Well, I had 4 children, and they ranged from, at that time, let's see, they were 5, 8, 11, and 14. And immediately he began coming down very heavy fisted in how he wanted to discipline the children. And it was things like, for instance, I mean, and these will sound dumb when you take them one at a time. It's overall, but we were cooking one day and I was using pineapple. And I poured the pineapple juice off because I didn't need it for the recipe. And so there was a little bit of pineapple juice in the cup. And I offered it to the kids and I was just going to split it between them. But they're kids. And so they started arguing a little bit over, well, you had it last time and I want it this time. The stuff that kids do. No big deal. The next thing you know, he has banned pineapple. The children are never allowed to eat it again. And in the cupboard, when you opened up the pineapple, on top of the cans, it said, do not eat, do not eat. So that the children knew that they weren't supposed to touch the pineapple.
Yeah, that sounds controlling.
Yeah. And so, like I said, that you can get past, but it was that and that and that. The same thing happened. We had a dress up box. The kids didn't put the dress ups back in the box. So he put all the dress ups in the box, taped it shut, and told them they were not allowed to use it anymore. One of the children left their bicycle in the front yard. And the way I deal with that is you tell them to put it away. And if they don't, then maybe they lose their bike for a few days, until you can remember to pick it up. And his solution was throw the bike away.
It's extreme.
Yeah, he just was very, very big, very
Yeah.
large in what he did. There was a time where the kids left the vacuum cleaner out in the hallway upstairs. And the next thing I know, the vacuum cleaner is flying down the stairs, busted into pieces.
Wow, I think he has some anger. I think he needs to do some healing work.
Yeah,
Clearly,
yeah.
it sounds like he just gets super angry at anything that's not perfect.
Yeah, and he expected things to be just so. So there was that. But I kept trying to tell myself that it was difficult to come in as a stepfather, that it was very difficult to try to establish yourself in that parental role. And so I was giving him a lot of leeway. I was really working with the kids, explaining to them, like, you do have to respect him, da 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 da. But then he started to do things like insist that they call him dad.
Oh,
Well, he wasn't their father.
yeah.
They had an active father in their life who still saw them a lot and who lived 15 miles away and who was their dad. And I told them immediately, no, they're not calling you dad. So then he wanted them, instead of calling him by his first name, he came up with all these other potential nicknames, none of which the kids wanted to use and none of which I was willing to force them to use. So that's when I mean, it was like, and then things started little by little. And he would say things to me like, I needed to love him more than I loved my children, things like that. So yeah, and I just kept telling him, well, I can't love you more than I love my kids.
Hmm.
First of all, I've known them longer than I've known you. I
Your
carried them.
kids too.
I carried them.
Always first. Yeah.
They're mine. Like I can't. And then he tried to throw church things at me and would tell me, well, you're supposed to cleave unto me and love me more. And if you don't, then you're going to hell. And I said, okay, well then I'm going to hell because I can't. I can't love you more. And if that's what's required of me, then hell is where I belong.
Good for you for standing up for yourself
I
there.
did, but I couldn't figure out a way out. And then
Okay.
over time, I got to the point where I would stand up for the kids. I would not let them push the kids, but he pushed me all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Like physically or
no, no, but like emotionally, he was constantly, he would dig on me and I would let that happen. If he did it to the kids, I became mama bear and I
yeah.
stood between my kids and him, but it got pretty bad toward me. And he would tell me, like, he would do things like, and I found out later, like I didn't know at the time, but I would have maybe a really good friend and then my really good friend just didn't come around much anymore. Well, I found out later he had gone to the really good friend, told them ugly, nasty things about me, told them things that I said about them. And so they're thinking that I don't want to be, in a relationship with them anymore. And so they've kind of made themselves scarce. And none of it was true, but he did that to my family and he did it to friends. And little by little, I became more and more where I had him and no one else.
Sounds like a movie.
Yeah, it was bad.
It really does sound like a movie. The fact that he got up, went to your friend's house, had that type of plan
Yeah,
and energy to do something. It's the amount of effort because from I've talked to a lot of women
yeah,
who've been in narcissist relationship. I've been actually hearing it's actually been a huge pattern on this podcast, which is I mean, I'm so happy that a lot of women are coming forward and
yeah.
talking
But it's
about
kind of
this.
scary that there's so many, right?
Yes, yes. I was thinking about that before we got on today. I think yesterday I had one and I just posted one today. And so I was like, oh my God, there's so many women. Definitely happy to be coming and talking about it. But what the hell?
And I don't know. When we were dating, I didn't see it.
Hmm.
I really didn't see it. So I don't know if I was blind, and that's possible. I could have just been blinded by the fact that I have 4 kids and someone was interested in me and he seemed like a good guy. I could have been blind. I also know, though, after living with him for that long and watching how he did relationships with people, I think he was just a chameleon. He was really good at hiding what he didn't want people to see until it was too late.
Yeah.
Once he trapped you, then he could do anything he wanted. And I just think that he had a really good way of making you feel like this was going to be a nice, good, equal relationship. And
Mhm.
then you find out pretty quickly that no, that it isn't going to be equal at all.
That's so scary. And
Yeah.
it's like you don't even know and they're like these men are great actors
Yeah. Yeah.
and you say I do and it's like great, we're connected. Now I'm going to treat you like garbage and
Right.
that's going to be harder for you to leave me because you can't just be like we break up, call it a day and bye. You will have to go through a bunch of legal
It's
stuff
the
and
legal stuff. And see, I live in North Carolina, and North Carolina, you have to be separated for a full year. So it's
really?
not, yeah, so it's not even like you can just get away. You have to be a full year separated before you can be divorced.
Really?
And all your things are considered equal between the two of you. So depending on who comes in with more, you can really get yourself screwed. So
Mhm.
you just have to be careful. I'm normally a good judge of character, and this is one of those things that just still annoys me that I didn't see it before it was too late. And then the other part about staying there as long as I did, I just don't think I was ready. I just don't think I was ready to figure out how to do it on my own. And then the longer I stayed in the relationship, the harder it was to feel ready because I had fewer friends, fewer family, fewer anything around me, no support. And I actually started seeing a therapist. And I went to see a therapist because I felt like I had anger issues. I felt angry all the time. And she soon realized what the problem was, but she knew better than to tell me you need to divorce him because I wasn't being divorced twice. And so we just talked about me, etc. And after, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, she said, so I'm just curious. You seem to put a lot of time and energy into this marriage, and you have stated that it's not really good. Has it gotten any better with all of the time and energy you're putting into it? I said, no, not really. And she said, okay, I have a lot of clients whose marriages are but the rest of their life is good. And therefore, they're willing to put up with a so so marriage. She said, so instead of working on this marriage, why don't we work on the other aspects of your life? Let's start looking at friends, family, work, spirituality, all the other, things. And she really worked with me, gave me homework assignments like call up one friend over and make a lunch date for sometime in the next month, those kinds of things. And as I did, of course, what she was doing was helping me find me again because I had gotten so lost. Then when it actually came time to leave him, I could because I had all those other parts of me were now at least in the process of healing
Hmm.
instead of just I wasn't paying any attention to them. So I just feel really blessed that I found her because had she said to me, well, you need to divorce him, I would have not continued going to her because I wasn't yet
Yeah.
at a space where I could hear that.
Wow, I just learned something right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I actually do have a friend that's in a situation right now, and I tried everything I could to help her, and nothing's working.
Yeah. She's
And
not ready.
yeah, no, I mean, you're right. And she's been in this horrible relationship for almost like a decade. And she's around my age too. Well, she's not around, she is my age. And she just has her whole life ahead of her. And she also has 2 kids. And what breaks my heart the most is how much it's affecting the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try to do everything I could. I even like, I don't know. I Because right now too, he really got her so lost to the point that she's out of the country now. So it's way worse. Yeah, and I feel like each year, each day, it's just getting worse and worse, and it really terrifies me because I mean, I know him pretty well. Like actually, I knew him before she knew him, and he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would like hit somebody. But then again, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and what do? They don't wear a sign on their head that says, "Hey, I'm going to hit someone." And that's the thing is you can meet people. You meet people at church who seem like upstanding citizens. You meet people out and about in your community and you think oh, everything's good. And then you find out later, oh yeah, they beat their wife at night.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not, and I say the same thing. I live in this will sound crazy, but I live in a gated community, right?
Mhm.
And I've had them before just let people in without doing the normal thing they're supposed to do. And I've said, well, why would you do that? And they said, oh, they looked fine. And I thought, well, what did you expect them to have? Thief written across their forehead? And it's the same thing here. It's like just because someone looks normal or acts normal in a public situation. Now, some abusers act like abusers 100% of the time and you
Yeah.
can you can pick them out of a pot without any problem, but some do not. And they put on the community face, and the community face is the one that people fall in love with because they seem to be kind and wonderful and all the things, and then you get them out of that space where they're now in a private place and then you see the real person come out.
I thought of that too because here in Florida, there's a lot of gated communities.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll do food delivery, so I have to go through the gated communities. And majority of the time, they do their job and they ask for my ID. But there are some times they're like, okay, have a good night. I was like, all right,
You
cool.
could
I
be
can just go
anyone,
and murder
right?
somebody. And I
Right.
think it's because I don't look like I'm about to like kill somebody or murder somebody. Like I look pretty innocent. I don't with my looks. I really don't have a hard time.
Yeah.
with convincing people I'm not going to stab someone in the
Yeah.
face.
I'm just coming in to deliver food, and they're like, oh, okay, no problem, right? But
Yeah,
the truth is that
I could be.
you could be,
Who
right?
knows?
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll talk about that later. No, but I mean, seriously though, you could be, because there isn't a look. There isn't a, oh, you can look at someone and go, ah, now
Movies
that's going to be
portray a look.
narcissistic.
I think it's because I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I want to just throw this out here. I think the problem is that movies
Oh, yeah.
portray a certain image.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, another thing too with like uh, um the news as well too. If someone shoots us, oh, this is the identity. So
Right.
now our brains associate people who look like that. Okay, we see people look like that. We're gonna get anxious because we think they're gonna shoot us.
Right.
And I mean, we're all guilty of being scared a little bit in the inside, but you have to be smart enough to know that that's not
Right.
reality.
Right.
But
Right.
but some people are not like that, and they just keep to judgment. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
I
I
blame the
think,
movies.
yeah, well, and it's true, because we get this idea of, well, this is what someone narcissistic, this is what they're going to look like. This is what they're going to act like. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, yeah, they act like that in the privacy of their own home, but that's not the way they act in public, because most narcissists want praise from others. And so when they're out in the public eye, they're doing all of the right things that make them look like the good guy. We would be out in
Yeah.
public, and he would put his arm around me and be loving and all of the things. And we would get home, and it wasn't that way, and that's just the way it is. You can't tell by looking.
You know what's
So,
yeah. You know it's also just a little traumatizing. I've never been in a relationship with a narcissist, but I've had a client that was a narcissist. I was doing her social media, so she's on TikTok and she sells crystals and everything. And when I first met her, because we always have like a meeting before to see if we're a good fit. At first, I was kind of like, could I have like I had like my instinct was kind of like, okay, there's something off about
something,
this woman.
spidey senses were,
Right? But I was like, okay, let me not judge. Like maybe it's just me kind of like overreacting, because after I think I originally said no, but then she said something that got me to say yes. And so I said yes. And I think what it was is that she's said that she's like big on mental health. I mean, she sells like the crystals and everything. Like that was her image. And even on TikTok, she was successful on TikTok. Like she'll go on lives and she would sell like $10,000 worth of crystals, right? And she would be on TikTok live for hours. And the way she would do, she would create like this safe place.
yeah,
People who are depressed or stressed, it's like they would look forward to her lives, right? So the image of her is like, oh, she's such a kind hearted, sweet
who loves
woman.
everyone and just right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And then like behind the scenes, she would scream at me. She would talk down to me because like she was older, and I'm like under 30, so she kind of looked at me like a child, and she talked down to me like a child. And I was like, I didn't like that, because I'm like, we're equals here. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not your employee. That's one thing I think I
Exactly.
needed to explain to her, is that we are not employer. I'm your partner in like helping with your business on the social media side, of course. So I just didn't like that kind of dynamic that she was creating.
Right.
And
Right.
eventually, I mean, there's times where I was like literally crying in the shower for things that she would say to me, the way she would treat me. And then at one point, I was like, is that money even worth it?
And the answer is
And,
no.
and I was like, yeah, absolutely not. And so anyway, we broke it off. Actually, she broke it off me first, because I actually did go to her first and with my concerns, because I wanted to first talk to her before I was like cut the rope or
Right.
whatever. And she went off on me. She turned it all on me.
Yep, that's the way it goes. And that's it exactly. It's no matter what the problem is, before long it gets turned around.
Yeah,
So
that's what she did.
so my husband and I tried marital counseling,
Hmm.
and I had a few things that he was doing that all I wanted him to do was admit that this was happening
Hmm.
and be willing to apologize when it happened and do a redo.
Right.
Like I wanted something simple, like, when you do this, I want to be able to say, wait a minute. That's one of the few things. One of them was disciplining the children. I didn't want him to do that anymore. He had several other quirky things,
Hmm.
and it was like, don't do those. And then I had one in particular. He would take our money and hide it. So he would take it all out of the bank, and then he would open up a new bank account with just his name. And so he did that a couple of times. And I just told him, you can't do that anymore. But we went to the therapist and I had a list. It wasn't long. It was 4 or 5 things of, I don't want these things happening. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think these should be happening in a marriage. It took us 2 months of therapy before he would even admit that he might possibly be doing them. And it was so then he came with his own list of things that he expected out of a marriage. And these were things like how often we were going to be intimate and on what days of the week.
So weird.
Yeah. And it was like, these don't even correlate to the kinds of things I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you can't scream at me and expect that I'm just going to fall into line. And you can't ask me to love you more than the children. And, and he's got things like, well, on Monday nights and Wednesday nights and Saturday nights. And it was like, yeah. But it was during one of those sessions that I said, if you ever take the money again, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. And there will be no forgiveness. There will be no, I will leave and that will be the end. And 2 years later, he took the money again. And that's when I left.
A whole
And
other 2 years of this.
yeah, a whole nother 2 years. But, he had taken the money. We took the money 2 different times in our marriage. But at the 12-year mark, he took our money. And that's when we went to that therapist. And I just said, if you ever take the money again, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years later, he took the money. And I'm still so thankful he did. Because
Yeah.
if he hadn't, I might still be struggling trying to figure out that relationship. And instead, he took the money and it was like, oh, thank goodness I can get out of here.
Yeah, that's your confirmation. That's the
Yeah,
universe telling you, go, go, go,
go,
out
get
you
out,
go.
get out. And people always ask me, and so the answer is yes, I did get my half back. So, he didn't get to keep it. I did, but I I went to my account my daughter, who was 17, just turned 18, I guess, had come to me and said, I can't get my check to deposit in my account. And I said, oh, bring it here, because she and I were on an account together. I said, I'll deposit it for you. And so I'm depositing her check. Her account's fine because it was just she and I on it, but I can see my account, and my account says 0 on it. And so I got that hot and cold feeling that you get, where it's like, and she was headed to a friend's house for a birthday party. And I said, why don't you just spend the night? And she said, oh no, I'll be back around midnight. I said, I'd rather you just spend the night. Let me call. And I called her friend's mom and just said, hey, would you mind if Kat stayed over the night? Oh no, that's great. Because I knew it was going to blow up because he wasn't home at the time. And when he got home, I just looked at him and said, I know you took the money. And he got in the car and he left. And he didn't come back for 24 hours. And when he came back, everything I owned was out of the house. I was gone.
So he pretty much ran away. Like, okay, perfect. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah.
So after that happened, you took your stuff and left. What happened after that? Because obviously, if he divorced, you gotta, in a way, kind of communicate again, right?
Right. So trying to get the house sold was horrible. Absolutely horrible. He did a lot of politics, local politics, and I would listen to him and I knew the kinds of tricks that he did. So he would do things like talk to people on the phone and be recording them and then take snippets of conversation and make it sound like they had said something else. So as soon as I left him, I started recording all of our phone conversations and saving all of the text messages. I had no intention of ever using them. My point was I didn't want him to use something against me. And I wanted everything. Well, we were trying to sell the house and he was still in the house. I moved 3 hours away. I got as far away as I could go and still have people that I knew surrounding me. And he said on the phone to me, he said, well, we'll never sell the house because I'm not going to pay the mortgage. I am not going to allow the realtor to show the house. I will keep it dirty. I will make sure that no one can buy it. It will eventually go into foreclosure and you won't get anything. And I said, well, except that's not legal. And he said, you'll never be able to prove it. And I couldn't help myself. And I said, except I can because I'm recording this conversation. At which point he lost his mind and started screaming and telling me he never wanted to speak to me again and slammed the phone down. And of course, 10 minutes later, he was calling again, trying to, make it sound better and work it all out and everything else. So that whole process was difficult. Thankfully, we didn't have children together. So it was mostly house, cars, bills, making sure those things were separate. And as soon as that was done, I wanted nothing more to do with him. Unfortunately, he figured out where I was living, and I came home one day to find a dead cat in a shoebox on my porch.
This is a movie.
It's gross. Yeah, and it makes me feel like I belong on one of those, terrible afternoon talk shows. And I'm
This
not
is in
that.
your book? Is all this like stuff you're telling me?
No, it's not. It's not in the book because the book is more about the after. Like,
Can you write a book then? So it could be a movie.
Should I write a book?
Can
Okay.
I be in it? Actually?
Yeah. Who do you want to play? So yeah, and it was crazy. Of course, he denied that it was him, but there was no one. I mean, I was living in a new place. There was no one who knew me. There was no reason to do that. And the shoebox that he left on the door with the cat in it was a size 10. I can't even remember the kind of shoe it was, but I have 3 daughters that all wear the same size and all wore that brand shoe. And I feel confident that one of them had left a shoebox in that house. We had shoeboxes all the time that you kept things in. And it was like, how coincidental that it was that. Yeah. And there's no doubt that's who it was. And so I ended up having to go into kind of a protection thing where I got North Carolina will offer a address to people who have been victims of abuse. So I had to go to a domestic abuse shelter, talk to them about my issue, sign up for this thing, get this address that made me look like I was living in the middle of the state when I was not. And for over a year, I had a fake address. And I had to move out of my apartment because he knew where I was, and I went somewhere else. And yeah, and I was very scared for a long time. And I'm not anymore. I don't have I have no feelings that he would ever come after me at this point. I got out of that relationship in 2017 and 2017. And it was like in the middle of 2018 that he did the whole cat thing. And so it's been long enough now and he doesn't bother me anymore. And I'm pretty sure that it's finally really over. But yeah, for a long time, I was very.
I mean, with the dead cat thing, usually, I mean, if he is the one that killed the cat.
Yeah, it escalated.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. Like, usually if someone kills an animal, they got the kind of mind that could be a killer.
Yeah, and that's what when I went to the domestic abuse shelter, which, by the way, I thought I was going to be fine, and I walked in to talk to them, and I started my story, and I just started sobbing. And it was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff that I have not even begun to try to heal yet. That's all stuck in here. And I didn't even know it was there, because I'm just sobbing like a crazy lady in front of this woman.
I'm sure they've seen it a lot.
I'm sure I was not the first nor the last. But she did say that at the point that people have now killed something, I don't know if he killed an animal or found it and decided to put it on my doorstep. Like, I don't know, but he drove 3 hours to make it happen.
Oh my God. I can't believe that's my reaction. I couldn't hold myself.
That's okay.
I couldn't keep it to myself. My
3 hours to
no,
make
seriously,
it happen.
Please write a book, make a movie, let me be in it. Okay. In all seriousness. 3 hours.
3 hours to do that. Yeah.
That is dedication right there.
Yeah. See, when I found out that he had my address, I did get very nervous. And the way he told me, we were trying to get, I think it was something with the taxes straightened out, and he owed me $72. Nothing. I mean, it wasn't. And he said, give me your address and I'll mail you a check. And I said, I would rather that you take it to the pastor of our old church. You give it to him. He knows how to get up with me. He'll mail it to me. Like, you're not getting my address. And he texted me and said, no, we were on the phone because it was his voice that scared me so bad. He said, I don't know what you're trying to hide. I know your address. And then he told it to me, including the zip code.
That's scary.
And then about 3 weeks later is when I got the dead cat on the door. And
did he ever get charged for that? Because I feel like there must be something illegal about what he's been doing to you.
Well, so there was never any, To tell me that he knew my address, there's nothing illegal about that.
Well, yeah, that.
Right? They never found fingerprints on the box or anything, so they couldn't ever tie it to him. They did go to him. He did deny it.
Mm.
It's not like there was a GPS tracker on the car. There was no proof. My neighbors upstairs did tell me that they saw someone walking around, and when they described him, it could very easily have been him. But it was all very circumstantial evidence.
Too bad you didn't have one of
So,
those rings.
no.
I said too bad.
Yeah,
That would have been
right.
great proof.
Now ask me if I have one today.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
I live in a gated community and I have a ring on my front door, and I have a concealed carry permit.
Yeah. Do what you got to do.
You know what I'm saying? And I really don't feel threatened anymore, but I also am not stupid. And there's no reason for me to ever be afraid here in my home. And so I've made it so that I'm not.
Yeah. I think
So
you're
even
really strong.
After watching a scary movie on all alone, I don't worry about my door. You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel safe in my house, and you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But I didn't go from leaving him to who I am now just like that. That's not what happens. I was a mess. I was a complete mess. And for a long time, I had hives. When he told me he had my address, I broke out in hives, and it took me 6 weeks to finally get those to calm down. Because I was just an emotional wreck. I was a complete emotional wreck.
Yeah. Let's talk about your healing now.
Yeah.
So you obviously have come a long way. You are telling the story with like no crying, so I can tell that you are doing fantastic. And you did a whole like bike riding, and you said how healing it was. So tell me about it. Like, how is that?
Okay.
Like, I mean, obviously riding a bike is very good for you, but let's talk about that adventure.
So I met Bruce, who became my third husband and a wonderful, wonderful man. And I will, just to be, perfectly honest with everyone, let you know that he ended up getting glioblastoma, which is brain cancer, and he passed away just a little while ago. So just a little over a month ago, which is very sad. And that would have me cry much sooner than anything that happened. But anyway, I met him. I had no intention of ever marrying, dating, anything. He tells people he chased me until I caught him. So he just kind of hung around until I finally got used to him, is what it boils down to.
Hey, my boyfriend did that too.
Yeah. And he was a good guy. He was honest. When he said he would do something, he would do something. And I think that's part of the healing process, is that I started to surround myself with people that were good and honest, that I could count on, that if they said something, they meant it. And you begin to realize that just because you lived with a narcissist doesn't mean everyone's one. You start to see that. But I was still, we called it swamp gas, where something would happen and things would bubble up, and I would just be a crying mess and just trying to defend myself over something that nobody was trying to hurt me, but it felt that way. Like I felt very like don't ask me to do 3 things at once. And everyone else is standing around going, like she's losing it. During this time that we were dating, though, he said that he'd always wanted to ride across the United States on a bicycle. And it was something he saw happen in 1976, and how he really wanted to do it, and wouldn't that be cool? And I had been wanting to do something big and bold. I wanted an adventure. I had my son's friend had walked the Appalachian Trail right after I left my abusive spouse, and I read his blog as he was walking along this trail, and I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to do something big and bold. I felt like I wanted to prove to people that I still had value and worth, and that I was capable. And it turns out that everyone else believed that. It was me that didn't believe it, but I didn't know it at the time. And I thought I needed to prove to people. So when Bruce said he wanted to ride across the United States, I thought that would be an adventure, given I've not been on a bicycle in 40 years. That would be a big thing. And so I told him, and this was before we were married, and I had no intention of marrying him. I figured, well, I could do an adventure with him. He seems like a nice enough guy. And, at the end of the adventure, if he isn't what I need, I can get out of the, I don't have to marry him to go on an adventure, right? And so we started riding around home, but we started riding on a tandem bicycle, which is the 2-seater. And the reason is because he is an avid cyclist and has been cycling for years and years and years. And I was brand new. And so there's no way I'm going to keep up with him.
Hmm.
So the tandem bicycle kind of like pulls us into the same plane. We have to ride together and do it together. We eventually got married and then we went on the trip. We went on the trip in the summer of 2020, so COVID summer. But this was huge for me. I'm not athletic. I'm klutzy. I was overweight significantly. I'm still overweight, but I was overweight. Like I said, hadn't been on a bicycle in 40 years, all of those things. And I was so unsure of myself. But when you start riding and finding that you've made it over a mountain pass and then another mountain pass, and that now you've made it 1,000 miles, and now you've made it 1,500 miles, you've made it over the Rockies, and all of these things that would hit us, and I would find something deep inside of me that allowed me to keep going.
Hmm.
And we made it the whole way across the United States, 3,102 miles, took 3 months. And at the end of that trip, I realized I can do anything I put my mind to.
That.
It's not a matter of can I do something? It's a matter of do I want to do it? Because if I
Yes.
want to, I can. And I think it was just really pulling myself outside of my comfort zone significantly. And then realizing that even though this wasn't something that was easy for me, that I did have inside of me everything I needed to make it work. So yeah, I really think that's what it was, is my husband would tell everyone that the woman that started the trip was not the same woman who ended the trip.
When you were talking about that, it kind of reminded me of a time where, I mean, I didn't ride a bike across the US or anything in that way, but I did challenge myself with something where anytime I get stressed out about something, I don't like just in life, right? I think back of what I did. And
Yeah.
so I'm gonna tell you what
Yeah.
it is. So, I mean, it's not really that exciting as yours, but
But I tell people it doesn't have to be.
I mean, it's not really adventurous. It's kind of like a little work related. Okay, anyway, so I was a
But
YouTuber.
yeah. But the thing is what I tell people is what an adventure is to one person is different for someone else. And so it's like whatever you do that is a challenge for you in whatever
Mhm.
way, that you can then look back and say, yeah, I did it.
Right.
I did it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I made it work. So
Yeah.
I was a YouTuber
Yeah.
and there's a thing called Vlogmas. It's the month December and the YouTuber has a upload a video once a day for up until Christmas.
Yeah.
And YouTube wasn't like TikTok where it's like 15 seconds, you're done.
Right.
No,
Right.
YouTube is like a whole production.
Right.
So I've always wanted to do it, and I had a full time job then, just like any other person. While these YouTubers are who do this, it's their full time job, like these bigger YouTubers,
Right.
and that's why originally I didn't do in the previous years. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do it. I'm gonna do it. So you know what I did before Vlogmas started? I had to create like a whole plan and stick to it
Right.
and sacrifice too because I knew my schedule for work. So I was like, okay, I literally woke up at 7 a.m. one time to film, or maybe it was 6 a.m. I woke up at 6 a.m. one time before work to film a video of me trying on kids' clothes. Yeah.
Right.
It's like random little videos. Like I used to do like comedy and lifestyle.
But it's the idea that you had to sacrifice.
Yeah.
You had to go outside of your comfort zone. You
Mm-hmm.
had to do something you weren't sure you would be able to do, because like, how am I going to get all of this done with everything else on my plate? Right. But
Right.
then when you finished, hey, I did
Right.
it.
And it
Right.
proves something. It proves something as well to me. And I only cried once, by the way, which was pretty good.
I'm a crier. I cry all the time. So
I mean, what I did is really hard.
yeah.
It's like it's not not everyone's built for what I just did. So since I did that, I feel like okay, I can do any challenge that's coming my way.
Right.
And another time that this happened to me was I actually was a senior in high school, and we had to do this project. It was about like Greek mythology, and it was like we had to give a presentation that was like 30 minutes talking about whatever. I don't know what we're talking about. I think I had to talk about Cupid and Psyche, and it was a project that it was a group effort, and nobody wanted to do a project with me, which was actually kind of really sad. So I was by myself
My
doing this.
goodness.
Everybody in the class had partners and teams, and I was the only one by myself. I had to memorize a whole monologue. I had to do everything by myself. but I did it. I think I got
Yeah.
an A. I don't remember, but that was so stressful to literally like memorize some monologue. Like, I don't remember exactly what I did in that project, but it
Right.
was not
But at the
easy.
time, it was something that made you dig deep.
Yes, and if you think about it, I do projects for myself on a daily. If you really
Yeah.
think of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So my n- my current thing, what I'm doing right now, um, that I'm pushing myself to do, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. Is, are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's hear.
I am going to take acting classes.
Awesome.
Yes, I did it once when I was a senior, and I feel like a lot of stuff happened when I was a senior in high school. I did a program in New York, and after the program, they you can like audition in front of casting directors and such. I was very intimidated. I froze,
Right.
and then I kind of ran away from that. But for these, like right now, I'm 29. So for all these years, I've had like the itch to do it, but in my head, I was thinking like, oh, it's not a reality. Like I should just get like a regular job, be safe, this and that. Cause that's the stuff that people say, go to school, get a job, blah, blah, blah. And which I left that 9 to 5 a couple of years ago. Now I'm self-employed. So anyway, so I just, it keeps pushing on me. Right. And I'm like, I'm in Orlando right now. I looked up some places and there's this acting studio that looks pretty good. And they had a 1 day workshop I'm like, okay, let me just try it out, see how it goes. I took that workshop. I was very uncomfortable in a good way,
I was going to say that's good,
in a good
actually.
way, because I
Right.
was like, okay, and plus it's like not close. It's like 45-minute drive. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get in the car and I'm gonna go. So yeah, I got there. I was like the first one there too. I was like 15 minutes early, and so it was nerve wracking to me because I haven't done something like this in like over a decade, and we had to do a scene, and the scene was very hard for me because I had to act racist. So that was a little difficult. I had to pretty much call a black person an animal. That was not fun. Yeah,
No,
no,
no.
that was
Yeah.
not fun at all. I mean, it wasn't me calling. It was the
Right.
character
Right. But
that I was
still, it
playing.
felt,
It
yeah.
felt kind of icky. I was like, oh, this is so. And I even told the coach there, okay, he can tell how I felt. And I said to him, like, so to be honest, like, this is a little hard because I would never ever say this to a black, and everybody in the class was black too. So just adding that, I'm like the only white person, and I'm here call. I was like, "What? This is horrible."
Yeah. Why are you doing this to me? Right.
I
Yeah.
was like, "What?" I wonder if he did it on purpose just to make me uncomfortable. Probably.
Maybe.
So
Maybe.
honestly, but he said to me, he's like, "Justine, you can't judge your character. You have to justify your character. You have to think, why is this character saying this? What led up to this character saying this? Because I didn't watch the movie. All I had was just this one scene. There's like no context pretty much. And because the actual like task that we had to do, the assignment was to scene study and to figure out, okay, how would this person feel? How should I act this? And he would ask us questions, and it was a really good class. So anyway, so I was very uncomfortable. I did it. I mean, I haven't really have a choice. I mean, I guess I could have walked out, but I'm not the
Could
kind
have.
of
And
person.
you
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
So, pat yourself on the back. Right.
Yes, yes. And then so I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to do this. So I signed up for a 12-week program, and first thing that was holding me back was first finances,
Of course.
if I could afford it. And I was like, you know what? I never ever in life want finances to hold me back from anything. One thing, never, ever, ever. So I do have savings that is for rainy
And what,
days,
yeah.
for
And
rainy days.
make,
And the
make this part of the rainy day.
right, exactly my point. And the classes weren't really that expensive for 12 weeks, 650.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
No.
It's totally worth that. And it's 3 hours each class too. And plus, like at the end, you network, you meet people like directors, agents, like
And more than anything, you're doing something that you've been wanting to do for a decade
yes,
that you'll learn at the end of 12 weeks. Is this still something I really want to do? Or
true.
maybe it really isn't. You know,
Yeah, I feel so excited though. Like I've been watching a lot of I've been like analyzing a lot of scenes when I'm like watching things now, just to yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I feel really good about it. I'm excited. I'm well aware that it's going to be very hard because obviously that industry is like you need tough skin to be in an industry. My
exactly.
one of my really good friends is actually in that industry right now, and when I visited her, and she lives in LA, and she was because I grew up with her in school. And she was like, LA will rip you to pieces and spit you out.
Yeah. 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 That's what you do. You have to have tough skin. But I think that idea of going and doing something that's outside of your normal,
Hmm.
and it can be a bicycle ride, it can be something physical, it can be something, emotional, it can just whatever that is. When you complete it, you've learned something about yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what it did for me. And, it took 3 months of cycling and going over mountain ranges and coming out the other side and tackling 6-lane bridges that just scared the crap out of me and all of these other things for me to recognize, yeah, it scared me, but I did it anyway.
Yes, when you were saying the 6 lane, I walked the Golden Gate Bridge in a storm.
Yeah, see, something like that. Just saying that makes me just
Well,
bridges.
yeah,
There's something about a bridge that just frightens me. And then the cars were flying by and you feel it moving, with the weight of the cars, and you're just like, get me off this bridge. But I did it.
it
And
wasn't my
in the
idea, but I
yeah, but in the end, it's like, look, I made it. I made it not only across the bridge, but across the United States. And then doing so, I now know if something comes my way, it's like, do I want it? Because
yeah,
if I don't want it, you can let anything stop you, right?
yeah.
Anything can get in your way. If you want a roadblock, boy, one will pop up without a problem if you don't want something. I mean, it could be finances, it could be time, it could be any. Oh, I felt sick that day, I didn't feel like driving my car. It could be anything.
Mm.
But if you want it, you'll find a way around the obstacles.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking that too, because there's so many times I think back in my life where I've got in my comfort zone, and if I want something, I get it. Like I wanted to leave. I grew up in New Jersey. I wanted to leave New Jersey and work for Disney full time. I originally got into the college program unexpected in 2016, and I loved the program. Went back to finish school, and then I was determined to go back and stay there. And so I got back into the program. I applied. And the hardest thing is to stay full time. So I did the program. And my next step in my plan was to get a professional internship. And I was getting denied all the time. But then one person took a risk on me.
Right.
And then, so that was amazing. And it was hitting almost a year, I think. And I was like, okay, well, I need to get a full time job for me to stay here. I'm going right back to Jersey. I took a risk. I left the normal path of, okay, I graduated college. Let me go find some work in my area full time. Like, no, I was like, I'm going to work for Disney and I'm going to stay in Florida. I'm going to take this risk, like complete risk. And I remember how much because it was taking forever for me to get a full time job. Like I kept getting denied. It was just getting so stressful. And I had one more opportunity where this department or whatever was taking time to get back to me. I was crying because my internship was over in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I
It
guess I'm
was
going back to Jersey, right?
it was
Yeah.
terrifying
Right.
because not just that, but also like I obviously would be out of a job.
Right.
So
Then
I
what
had
are
to
you going
figure
to
out how
do?
am I paying the rest of the rent? You know what I
Right.
mean? So I was literally like, I couldn't breathe. I was going into a panic. I was crying. Like, it was so painful. But thankfully, like my leader at that time, like she's close with this department over there, so she called that leader and was like, "Listen, you need to call Justine and give her your decision right now. You guys are taking too long because Disney's notorious for taking forever
Yeah.
on
And
getting
they
back to
can,
you."
because they have a lot of people that apply
Yeah.
and they can do what they want, right?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, no, my leader called directly to them. It was like, you need to hurry this up. She's about to like pass out. Cause like they caught well, I actually like there was two opportunities and I got one call and I was like so excited. I saw the call and then I was able to like leave the meeting and go take the call outside. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we liked you, but we're gonna bench you. So it was like I didn't get it's like they didn't deny me, they didn't extend it, but they didn't accept me. In my
Said,
head, I'm just like, why is this good? You guys know I need a job. Like after the internship has an expiration date.
right, right,
Yeah, exactly. And then I came in, I sat down, but I felt all this emotion because I felt like my whole world was crashing down because
right,
I'm like
right.
crap, like the universe time to go back to Jersey. I literally ran to the bathroom and I started crying. And then my coworker, she like when she saw me, like she knew because her and I worked side to side. She was the one who like trained me and everything. She's like, and then we're literally in a bathroom stall, and she's like it was like so great. Like we're in a bathroom stall, and she's like hugging me, and I'm like crying her arms. I was like, ugh. And everybody knew what happened. Like they're not dumb. They knew because they know me. They know I'm a little sensitive. But yeah, then I got the call, and I was like, thank you, Lord. I was like, I get to stay here.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Oh man.
I love that you keep calling yourself sensitive. I'm sensitive. I
Hmm.
kept a blog the whole way across the United States.
Where
telling,
is that?
it's on my website. So if
Okay.
you go to my website under the About Me page, you'll see a section and it's called Team DBA. DBA stands for Double Butted Adventures.
Mm.
And that it'll take you right to the blog. And I kept the blog the whole way across the United States. And I told everything. I was completely honest. And so if it was a good day, you heard it. If it was a bad day, you heard it. And the number of times you'll read where I was standing on the side of the road crying. I mean, I
Mm.
just cried a lot but I realized that's how I process. If
Mhm.
something difficult is happening, something bad has happened, I'm going to cry. I'm
Mhm.
going to feel like my world has ended. It's the end of the world and what will we ever do? And then once I get that out of my system, then I can think clearly. The very first time this happened on the trip, my husband, we were probably only 3 or 4 or 5 days into the trip. It was hot. I was tired. We were standing next to this field full of cows and I am sobbing. And my husband tries to hug me and it's like, no, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Because I was just. And then I got over it. And then I said, okay, well, come on, let's go. And he looked at me like, what? Because he sees this sobbing woman and thinks, I suspect the trip is over. Like she's not going anywhere. And I looked at him and said, well, the next place that we can actually pitch a tent is 10 miles from here. And we're not getting any closer standing here next to the cows. So come on, let's go. He finally figured out that's just how I operate. I need to go ahead and have my good cry. And
Mhm.
so after that, I would cry and he would just stand there and munch on his snack and wait for me to be done. It was like, Terry will be done crying in a minute. Or sometimes there was one time where I said, I just can't go any further. And he said, I know. And if I could call an Uber, I would, but I can't. I said, I know. All right, let's ride. I mean, it's like you just have to, he knew just to acknowledge, yes, I'm having, and it's hard right now and I'm so done. But then I'd get on the bike and do more. I always found that extra strength in there. And so I tell people all the time, we have in us what we need.
Mhm.
It's there. We might not know how to tap into it. And if you don't know how to tap into it, find a friend, find a therapist, find a partner, find a good book, find somebody, a pastor, find somebody who can help you figure out how to tap into that because it's there. What you need is there. And if you're not tapping into it, you've either buried it and can't find it.
Mhm.
You've never had to tap into it before. You're not real sure how to come up with that strength. But the point is it's there. You are good enough. You have what it takes. You have what it takes to be happy, to have joy, to have an adventurous life, to do the things that you want to do. It's all there in you. And if it's not coming out, you need to start looking around to figure out why, because it's there. You don't have to
Yeah.
become someone else. You don't have to change to be, you don't have to, it's all there in you. You don't have to
Yeah.
wish that you were like someone else. Oh, I wish I were more like Justine. You don't have to do that. It's in you. And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of tapping into that and recognizing it. And like I said, once I was done with that ride, there isn't anything that comes my way anymore that I say, I wonder if I can do that. I sometimes say, I wonder how I could go about doing that because I don't know. For instance, I really would like to try to get into the public speaking circuit. I think it would be really fun.
Do it.
I love talking. I have zero idea how to do it. Like I know how to talk. I just don't know how to get into the speaking arena where they would pay you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like I
okay.
can get free talks all day long. People love to have you come speak, but there are the people who get paid to speak.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do it. I want to do it. So I've got an appointment next week to speak to someone who does do it to find out like what do I need to do? How do I take what I have done and turn it into where I want it to go?
Yeah.
And the reason that I can do this is because I believe I can do it. I rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle, 3,102 miles. And I know that if I want to be a speaker, a paid speaker, that I can be one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, I also know that if I wanted to run a marathon, I could run a marathon, but I don't want to run a marathon. And so I would let anything get in my way. Like I could say, okay, well, I'm going to run a marathon, but since I don't really want to, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too medium, it's because I
Use it
don't
with any
really,
excuse.
right, because I don't really want to go. And I think that's the thing, is if you find yourself with, let's just talk about you want to do the acting, but
Hmm.
let's say that you find yourself not going to these acting classes because of this and because of that, because of the other, then you have to stop and ask yourself, do you really want to do the acting classes? Because you're letting things get in your way.
No, that
So,
makes sense.
so why is that? And for me, 9 times out of 10, the answer is I don't really want it. I don't really want it. I think it sounds good, or maybe it would sound cool on paper, or maybe I was trying to impress someone, or maybe, it's an old dream that I haven't let go of, but it really doesn't fit today, or whatever it is. So, like, if you find yourself constantly letting these things like stop you from moving forward,
Mm,
check and see, do you really want it? And it's
true.
okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't want it. I really don't want to ride across the United States on a tandem bicycle, or I really don't want to take this acting class, or I don't really want to, whatever it is. It's okay to say, this doesn't fit who I am.
Hmm.
But
No,
if
I
you
agree with
want
you.
it, you'll find a way over every obstacle that comes in your way.
No, you're totally right, and I come to thinking of just anything that I let get in the way. At one point, I really wanted to, because right now I still do social media management, and like that's what pays the bills right now. So I
Yeah.
have a couple of clients, and over the past year, it's been a little hard with business, economy wise, and
Right.
I'm the first to go. So I lost a lot
Yeah.
of clients, which is
Yeah.
obviously very challenging. But I'm trying to think of it in a way where it freed up so much time for me, where I have time to be doing like multiple podcast recordings, building the brand. Now I can do like the acting thing. So it took me a bit to get there because at one point I was like crying all night, thinking like, why is this happening to me? And then just crying it out, but then realizing it's happening for me. And so now I'm at this point where I decided that I prefer to not manage other people's accounts, but do UGC, which is user generated content. So like I can make I like to make the content. I just don't like the pressure of dealing with the algorithm and the marketing of it, because that's the part that sucks.
Yeah.
Is
Oh, no, I
that
agree. That's the part I don't understand. I mean,
yeah.
it's like,
I
it's
understand
always,
to an
and it always is
extent.
changing. And
Oh yeah, I mean, I understand it to an extent, but the thing is that's challenging is when the client does it, and even though I try to explain things, have unrealistic expectations.
right, of what you can do and what should happen with the
Right.
content that they've put out or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
like I had one that I always tell them to at least give at least 3 months to see improvement, because you can't just completely change your whole social media game in a month. And this one client that I had dropped me after the first month saying, "Oh, well, the numbers aren't there." I'm like, I looked at him and I screenshot. I'm like, "Your numbers are up by like 50%. I don't know what you're expecting from me." I
Yeah.
didn't say it like that. I
But yeah,
wanted
that
to.
but that is the truth, because there are people who think, well, I'll give you a week, and it's like, well, then don't even
That's right,
get.
especially with that kind of work.
Yeah.
Like I say, 3 months is, and because that's what I was told, and now I'm actually looking at it, and 3 months is the time frame where it usually does start getting a little bit better. I mean, I always not, I don't, I'm, well, first, I never guarantee anything because I can't control the algorithm. But from what I've seen, is even after a month, I still give results. But I don't know what they're expecting to go from averaging 100 views versus to like 40,000 views. Like it doesn't work like that.
No, that's not the way. It absolutely
Yeah.
does not. And if you figure out how to make that happen in a month, let me know, and I will hire you, because we will do that for a month. But you know what I'm saying? It's that's the kind of thing. But I just think that this idea that we have in us
Hmm.
what we need, and so as I was riding across the United States and kept this blog the whole way, I then went back and looked at the blog and realized, I learned a lot of things.
Hmm.
And I started writing that down, and that's where this book came from. So, the book is things that I learned about me and life and living what I call an adventurous life, which is really a joy filled life.
Yeah.
And by adventure, I don't mean you have to ride a bicycle. I mean, it could be something like changing jobs, moving to a new place, realizing that you're going to be an empty nester, and what are you going to do with that? getting into a relationship, getting out of a relationship, deciding you want to learn to watercolor paint. I mean, whatever it is, it's that
Yeah.
doing something different, and that what I've written maybe can help people kind of navigate that a little better. I call them
Mhm.
10 rules, but I also have guided journaling questions at the end. And at the end of each chapter, and state, I am not an expert. I'm an only expert in me,
Right.
right? And these are the 10 rules that I figured out for me. But if you can use them, great. But if they make you think, ooh, I kind of like it, but I would say it this way, or I would do this, or I would add that, fantastic. Put that. I've got pages that you can put that in, right? Where
Mhm.
that's the point, is I want to help people figure out their 10 rules. What can you do to live a more adventurous, joy filled life? Get rid of
Yeah.
those things that are bogging you down and put more into your life that make you happy and full and adventurous.
Yeah, I was actually
Yeah.
going to say like the whole book itself is
Yeah.
adventurous, and when you said navigate, I was gonna be like, haha,
Ha ha
it's no
ha.
pun intended. Ha ha ha. I just call it like, oh yeah, this book is an adventure, and this is how you navigate the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at me using all of my terminology, right?
Right. So where can people find the book?
If you go to my website, if you live in the United States, you can go to my website and I'll sign it and send it out to you.
Hmm.
If you live anywhere else or don't care about getting a signed book, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much anywhere. Right now, it's only hardcover. It's going to be coming out in the soft cover and in a ebook format within the next couple of weeks. It just got a little behind with my publisher, but it should be soon.
That's awesome. So I will put your website in the description so people can go check you out.
Super.
But Terry, I had such a fun time with you today.
I had a wonderful time. I'm so excited that we were able to talk together.
Yeah, me too. And I forgot that we're actually doing a podcast because it just felt like we are just two friends just talking about like your scandalous story.
I'm going to have to turn into a book, I guess. I don't
Please do.
know,
And can I
right?
act in it?
Yes, I know. I know you've said that. I'll definitely
Just
contact you
reminding you.
first. Yeah. I'll definitely contact you first.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.